Hi everyone, let's talk Techo Kaigi. It's that time of year. Hobonichi is rolling out their releases and everyone's getting excited. Other planner companies are starting to talk about pre-orders. I actually appreciate the mid-year Techo Kaigi because I didn't even realize that it was the midpoint of the year until people started talking about it, which I guess is another great thing about using a planner, because then I looked at my pages that were used and I thought, oh yeah, it is halfway through the year. So it was a perfect time to think about how it started, how it ended up, plans for 2026, and that's what I'm going to do today. As a brief overview, I've been using Hobonichi for a year. I started in July of 2024. There was a kind of fortuitous crossover with some fountain pen content I was consuming on YouTube and Helen from the Coffee Monsterz Co. And I saw her using the Avec and I thought, I want to use that. That looks really fun. I picked one up on Amazon for a pretty cheap price and I used it for the second half of the year. I just had a clear Midori cover on here and this was supposed to be my planner. And then the 2024 A5 Day Free was my journal. As far as journaling goes, I did fill up the Day Free. I did not use the monthly pages at all, which was fine with me, although it would have been fun to do some type of a sticker per day situation. But I still consider myself a newbie when it comes to Hobonichi and Japanese stationery in general, and fountain pens. So I feel like I haven't really flexed my creative muscles yet. I'm still following formats on social media and trying to figure out what works for me. So as I was going through and using the Avec, you'll see that represented pretty clearly. The monthly pages were where I documented personal appointments and dates, like birthdays and school events and trips. And I went a little bit kit crazy because I'd never used a kit before. And I still use kits, although now I mostly use them from Sterling Ink. But they help me to kind of connect with my planner and to get in there and decorate it and make it the way that is pleasing to me. And because I'm not an overly artistic person, although I know some people say everyone is artistic, I can barely draw a stick figure or a flower, so when I try to do those on my pages, it just looks sad to me and makes me not want to use my planner. So the kits do help. And then in the weekly pages, they were kind of, I don't know, ho-hum, I guess. I was doing more kits. I was documenting any work or personal appointments in the hourly and daily sections, and this was the first time I had ever seen a week laid out like this, and it was mind-blowing in a good way. I love that I can see my week at a glance, that I can see how busy I am, where I can fit other things in, when I might have drains on my energy reserves. Really, I was just using this section to document day-to-day appointments that did not show up in the monthly section, where I was really just documenting events more. That was that for the weeklies. I was kind of tracking habits over there, and sometimes I would track orders or deliveries I was waiting on, different things like that. But it was mostly just for my hourly daily schedule. And then in the daily section, that's where I would document my routine and my schedule and my to-dos and anything else that kind of came to mind. It was working out okay, but because I'm a big list maker, there was a lot of repetitive writing down of tasks that either happen every day or maybe are migrated every day, since I have an incredibly long to-do list and that's just how I plan. So it was feeling a little bit redundant, and some days I would skip it because I would just look back at a different day. I tried to use the specific day page for the day in question, but like I said, that didn't always happen. And so when that didn't happen, sometimes I would washi swatch. If I got new stationery, I would test it and fill up a page that way. But I ended up with a fair amount of blank pages and just wasn't as cohesive as I had hoped it would be, because I was kind of sticking in random things to fill up blank pages because, of course, I didn't want to waste the paper, just like everybody else. It was just feeling a little bit disjointed. But I still considered it a success, and I really enjoyed using my fountain pens on TRP. It was the first time I'd ever used TRP, and of course it was magical. The thinness, the crinkle, everything about it. So when 2025 rolled around, I thought that it made sense to jump into a full year cousin, and that's what I did. So this is an A5 size. I love Hobonichi's rivet bands. I think that they're so functional and they make my books feel very contained. Here's my A5 cousin. I have it in this beautiful Liberty Fabrics cover. This is orange Hollyhocks, and I love Liberty Fabric covers. I love the prints, I love the smell, I love the feel of them. I have a Weeks in Liberty Fabrics also that I took the clear cover off of because I wanted to feel it. It just has such a nice hand feel. But of course I kept a cover on this one so I could protect it, since this is something that is reused. But anyway, I tabbed it out. As you can see, I had some high tide tabs, and I will note these are not very functional. They're kind of pretty, but you cannot read the numbers on them for anything, so I'm not really sure what the point is. Some Coffee Monster, some Midori. And I was using the book kind of in a similar way to the Avec. So I had my important dates and events marked in the monthlies. I'm still using kits. You can see around here is when I fell off because I decided to pivot to a different planner. And then in the weekly section, I was, again, either trying to document specific days with a schedule and to-do list, or I was swatching different things when I missed days. I was missing a fair amount of days in this book. And I couldn't understand why I had had more success in the Avec versus the cousin. The cousin felt so much larger and just like too much book for me. It's just heavy and big, and I finally realized when I was getting ready to make this video that it is just really heavy and big. The Avec is much thinner, it's half a year, it's smaller, it feels more manageable in some way. And the full year cousin was just like, boom, you know, this huge book that you have to fill out. And I had also started consuming a lot more stationery and planning content, and I think that I had unreasonable expectations for myself because I see all of these beautiful spreads by people who are very consistent, and that's just not my strong suit most of the time, consistency and honestly creativity. So when I started to feel like I didn't want to use this book anymore, or it was kind of stressing me out, I decided that it was early enough in the year that I might try something else. Enter my B6 Common Planner, which has been a huge success and a huge relief for me in my planning life. I have it right now in a beautiful leather cover by Jenica's Journals. She has an Etsy shop, she just started a website, and she has a YouTube that I very much enjoy. This is her toasted marshmallow, and I got it with a pocket and a snap closure. I previously purchased from her another toasted marshmallow cover, but this one had an elastic closure, and they're both really, really beautiful. I've learned so many things this year, so many just small idiosyncrasies about my preferences, and one preference that I've found is that I really enjoy a firm cover. And this comes into play when I'll talk about the plotters, but it's just, I don't know why. I really like a firm cover. So I'll probably use this one for journaling or commonplacing or something. It's too beautiful not to use, and I love it. But yeah, Jenica does beautiful work. So getting into my B6 Sterling Ink Common Planner. I think that most of us know the biggest difference between the Hobonichi Cousin and the Common Planner is that the back pages are undated. So not only are they undated, but they also they don't have any color, any text, any quote, and it's just a page number and some little dots to mark the quadrant of the page. And when I first received the B6, I thought to myself, wow, that is really small, smaller than I expected. Is it going to be functional for planning? And I personally think that when you compare it to the Hobonichi A5 Cousin, if you look at the usable space, it's pretty much, I mean, it's very similar, because if you don't count this area or this area, I mean, that's kind of what you're working with. Anyway, I have never once felt cramped in a B6 or like I needed more room. If anything, it's my Goldilocks planner size, because I think A5 is too big for me right now. A6 is too small and B6 is just right. I kind of wish that it was a more popular planner size, because I know that companies like Sterling Ink and some others make this size, but I don't think it's as popular as A5 or A6. So let's talk about how I am using my Sterling Ink Common Planner. This is a full year, and I keep in this pocket a B6 envelope from the Copy Monsterz Co. that has my functional type of stickers in it, which is great. I always have a few pencil boards around that I washi tape blotting paper to, since I like to use fountain pens. And in the monthly section, I'm doing the same kind of approach as I did in the Cousin. It's my personal and important dates that I want to keep track of and remember and maybe look back on as a memory. But to be honest, the monthly section isn't really my source of truth when it comes to my appointments. I do use my phone calendar because so many things auto-populate and my husband has access to it, and I always have it on me so I can update things when things change. So really this is just for aesthetics and to look back on, and I fill it out when I'm filling out my week sections. My weekly section is really where my functional planning takes place. And I did redact a few pages here, and I apologize, but I just had to redact them for work confidentiality purposes. But again, I'm documenting any appointments that I have, or work meetings, personal meetings, hair appointments, anything like that in the hourly section of each day. So it is an accurate snapshot of my entire week and my obligations for that week. And then in the side column on the left-hand side, I started using this to track my running to-do list. What that has meant for me is that there's much less rewriting tasks or having to migrate tasks, or maybe losing a task if I forget to migrate it or I miss one. I just have my to-do list here, and then I can pull from it and add it to a specific day. And this isn't a good representation of that process, but typically, because the top of each day has 2 blank lines and then 6, 7, 8, 9, I have this entire section right here to write my top 5 or 6 things that I have to get done or I want to get done on a specific day. And then in the bottom section, when we hit maybe 9 to 12 o'clock, and then you have 2 more blank lines, that's where I will note anything else I want to track, like deliveries, habits, orders, quotes, you know, maybe even a memory of something that happened that day. So let's see another example. Here's another example. So a very long to-do list, as you can see, and my appointments in here. On this day, I noted that I was overstimulated a lot. I had some potential deliveries that I was waiting on, And this page I decorated with Simply Gilded washi and some Sticky Club stickers. But you'll probably note that I'm using a lot of Sterling Ink's subscription kit stickers, and I love them very much. They're so understated and just kind of gentle and beautiful. Catherine designs them by hand every month, and they've really added a lot of enjoyment to my planner. I've kind of gotten away a little bit from the cutesier stuff. I still do use it from time to time, but my preferences have just changed a little bit. I used to be into really bright neon even colors, and now I reach for my Yohaku washi tapes that are a little bit more muted, and my Sterling Ink kits that are just very soothing to me in a way. So let's see. Here's another example. This week I was traveling, so I didn't really have a lot of things that I listed to do. It was an overwhelming week, but I still decorated it a little bit and marked down some information about what was going on. Here's another week. I'm back to work, so I have a priority list of things to do. I wrote down things to do that had to get done this day and this day, which I had to cover up with stickers because they were work related. On this day, I noted that my son made a baseball team, which was exciting. I have some personal to-dos, some deliveries. So it's really been working out well for me. I just like this simple, clean layout, and I like being able to see my schedule at a week at a time. And especially because I have so many meetings during the week that I have to account for and remember and try to kind of navigate when there are other things that I want to do. This works for me right now. And I imagine that would change in the future if I had a different job that didn't have so many meetings and to-dos, or I had kind of a more flexible schedule when it came to that. Since I'm not documenting my daily schedule and my to-dos in the daily section, and that's all happening in the weekly section, what am I using my daily pages for? Or I guess the blank numbered Sterling Ink pages. Well, what I noticed when I looked back at my cousin and my Avec is that I was doing a lot of journaling in them, even though I had a different dedicated journal. So I decided to just use these back pages as a journal. And it's been working out really well. I think that they're so pretty and I enjoy decorating them, and the paper is beautiful. It's TRP and it has that beautiful texture and crinkle to it. I started putting in some vellum sheets to mark when a new month starts. These are also from Sterling Ink. I add pressed flowers and some stamps sometimes. This is my spread for August with, again, a vellum sheet, and then I did a page with a tip-in with July and August. I was thinking I could kind of recap July and then think about August. That's something that I never would have done before, and it's really helping me get a grasp on time and the passage of time. Like I mentioned, I didn't even realize that we were halfway through the year. The passage of time, what happened over the past month, what I want to achieve the next month, so that time isn't really just slipping through my fingers. So I think that I've used about, let's see. Okay, since April, I've used this many back pages, and I have this many left to go. So I think that I would be able to use one B6 Sterling Ink Common Planner for my entire year and not run out of pages. And I know that Sterling Ink sells supplemental notebooks in case you do run out of room. I guess potentially the only thing I miss from the cousin is having a dedicated page to devote to a specific day. Let's say you have a busy day, a complicated day, a lot of to-dos, any type of brain dumping that you want to do to get out of your head. And what I've decided is that I'm going to start doing that in the back of my common planner and work to the front. And then I will be able to keep my beautiful journaling pages together without anything random kind of interspersed into those. In the back of my planners, I always immediately do a pen test. Sterling Inks paper did very well, despite Sanzin's issues this year. The only thing that had a little bit of more than ghosting, I would say, are the Zig Clean Color Dots, but not too bad. But really the only paper that I've found that can handle Zig Clean Color Dots is the plotter paper. This has really become my everything book. I love the gold edged pages. I love the color. I love the aesthetic and the font. I love the fact that the paper isn't stark white, that there aren't distracting things on it, and I love that it's not dated. That's really the main thing. So for 2026, I definitely plan to be in a B6 Common Planner again, and I will probably have it in a Jenica's journal cover, or I might switch out between her cover and maybe a Superior Labor cover. I've seen that they do them in B6 and they look really nice. I love everything that Superior Labor does. So that's my planner and journal, and it's working out very, very well. The other books I wanted to quickly go through were right here. As I mentioned, I ended 2024 journaling in an A5 day-free Hobonichi. And when I went into 25, I had decided to, again, keep my planner separate in an A5 cousin. And then I was going to try to journal in an A6 size. And for that purpose, I picked up the Midori Hibino. I thought this color match was really excellent. And this is a Hobonichi cover. It's either called Search and Collect or Search and Recover, but it's kind of a wool tweed and it has a beautiful brass button. It's made for a 5-year Techo, but an A6 fits really nicely in here. And as I'm sure you can guess, the A6 was just too small for me. I think I made it about a month before I gave up. I think it was through February 7th. The paper and the grid is really what made me fall away from this book. And in addition to that, I think that I just really struggled to write on narrow paper, because another thing I've realized, the second thing, is that I need my hand to rest on paper at all times when I'm writing. And it must just be the way that I hold a pen, but for some reason my hand is off of an A6 page. But a B6 page, I feel like my hand is on the page for most of it. And of course, with larger paper like A5, it's on the page as well. So I really think that it's narrow paper. I need enough width to feel comfortable. So I just felt too cramped in the Midori, unfortunately. It's a beautiful book and beautiful paper. The Midori paper is different to me than TRP. It feels a little bit toothier, so my fountain pens weren't really working the same way that they did on Tomoe River paper, which is another thing that was kind of a negative for the book for me. So I'm sure I will repurpose this for something else, maybe ink swatching or some other type of memory keeping. But as far as journaling goes, it did not work for that purpose. I also picked up a Hobonichi Weeks. This was the first time I'd ever tried a Weeks, and I got it in the Liberty Fabrics Paysanne print. Really beautiful with little strawberries interspersed in there. And then when the ribbon markers started fraying, I added some charms to them, which was fun. So like so many others, this was meant to be a health tracker for me because I've been dealing with some very bizarre symptoms that I personally think might be autoimmune related. So I was tracking my symptoms in this book, and it did help me determine a few things. But I kind of fell away from this maybe in April or May. But basically I was tracking symptoms here and then writing anything else on the right-hand page if I needed more space or I wanted to work through some other things. And then, of course, the monthly section is pretty small, but I was trying to do a dot system to track things as well. And honestly, this did help me figure out a few things, which is awesome. I think the main issue with the weeks and why I kind of fell away from using it is A, the paper quality was inconsistent. So some pages would have a lot of bleed through or feathering, and it was hard to read what I wrote. But more importantly, B, I need to have a health tracker that is going to be with me at all times so I can document symptoms right when they happen, or else I will completely forget, because that's the whole reason I needed a health tracker. I am just not really in tune with my body, and so it was supposed to help me figure out what actions cause reactions. So if I did want to pick this up again as a health tracker, I would either have to carry it with me all the time, or alternatively, I could document symptoms in my notes app on my phone and then transfer them. But I was trying to fill this out at night when I did my 5-year Techo, and I was just losing too much information that way. So that is the issue. But it is beautiful, and I'd like to potentially repurpose it for something else. I don't have an issue redating it, so I don't know. I might pick it up again for health. We will see. Next up, we have my work notebook. I know this doesn't look really professional, but I work from home. So for a long time, I had a collection of Louis Vuitton canvas covers, and I would use them with a Stalogy 365 notebook. I really enjoy Stalogy paper. I use it with my fountain pens. It's never done me wrong. It's not as smooth or luxurious as TRP or Midori, but it has a nice light grid. There's just some days of the week, the month, and some days up here if you want to mark that. And this served as my kind of resource or composite, what do you call that? Repository for all of my work notes. So the only issue with the Stalogy is that it's bound, which is not the fault of the book. But what ended up happening is I found myself having to go back to look for notes, and I was shuffling through papers. Sometimes I could remember about where in the book I had, written them down. Sometimes I tabbed the pages, but things were everywhere. And I decided that I really needed a more modular system. Enter the plotters. These have worked out really well, but it took me a little while to figure out how best to use them for my needs. So I started off with the plotter Bible size. This is in the beautiful Liscio leather. It's black, it has rose gold hardware. And I remember watching a video from Daisy. It really stands out to me because she said that if you're planning on picking up a plotter for note-taking or journaling, skip the Bible size and go straight to A5 because Bible size is not going to be large enough. Did I listen to Daisy? No, I did not. And she was 100% correct. It was just not enough room for me. And now that I've figured out my paper size / width preferences, I think that the paper is just too narrow, and I just don't kind of jive with it. So I did go ahead and pick up an A5. I got this one from Atlas Stationers. This is the Shiranami cover that is a US exclusive. So it's indigo dyed in the traditional Japanese methods. And over time, this white waxy substance on the cover gets worked into the leather and it becomes darker. You can see here where the band is that's already happening, or where the rings are. So the plotter system itself is working out great for me. I have dedicated tabs at the top for my standing weekly meetings, and then I have extra paper at the back to take notes on the fly. I have the plotter to-do list in the front where you can mark your mission or to-do and then your percentage done if you're that organized. I also picked up the blue paper that came out with the Shiranami release. It has a very light grid and it's divided into quadrants, so you could use this for project planning or weekly planning or goals. Then, like I said, I just have extra paper in the back so I can write down notes and then index them where they belong. And one other thing that I started using recently that I was really surprised about that it worked for me is this project manager that Plotter does. I just picked it up because it was really inexpensive. I assumed that because I have to see things to remember that they exist, that this wouldn't work for my needs or my brain. For example, recently I moved my washi tape collection into a Toyo steel box, and I'm not exaggerating when I say that I couldn't find my washi tape for a full week until I accidentally opened the box for something else. Then I put my stamps in the Toyo box, and I lost those for 3 days until I opened the box for something else. So I don't know what it is about about my memory. It's honestly really annoying and frustrating, but I have not found that issue with this project manager. In fact, I put some notes in here for this random ad hoc meeting we have every few months, and I don't even know if the group's going to go anywhere, but previously when I would flip through my plotter to look for some more relevant notes that I needed, these notes would distract me. And now they're tucked away in this little folder, and I know that they're there. You can label it. You can also kind of date the back to note any to-dos, but it just kind of keeps it compartmentalized, and it's a brilliant, brilliant idea. So I'm not sure why this works for me, but putting things away in other places does not work for me, but this is great. The only complaint that I have about the A5 plotter is I'm not sure if this is specific to the leather or specific to the size, but I didn't realize that this leather would be so much floppier than the Liscio leather on my Bible size. So you'll see when I try to put this band down, the cover buckles. It's just very soft and floppy compared to this one. So I wish that I had gotten the A5 in the black leather. I just thought that they would be similar, but that was kind of a dumb assumption on my part, because of course all leathers are different, and they have a Pueblo leather, which I assume would also be different. But I'm hoping that maybe over time, as this wax coating gets worked into the leather, maybe it will firm up. I know Job's journal has a few Shiranami covers, and his Mini 5, I think it is, has gotten super dark because he's used it so much and kind of put it in and out of his pocket. So I guess I'll wait to see, and if it keeps bothering me, I will maybe sell this one and purchase a different A5 cover. But in terms of the function, it's working out amazingly well. Plotter is a great system. It's a pricey system, but I think for my needs, it was worth it for me. You know, one of the main things is that the Krauss rings are so small, you're only supposed to have 80 sheets in a plotter at a time. So already I've gone through and I've archived some old notes that I didn't need. And so really this is just everything that is current that I would have to reference potentially. It's kept me very, very organized, which is what I hoped. Okay, up next we have my 5-year Techo, and I'm really happy to report that it's going so well, because as I mentioned, sometimes I can struggle with consistency, especially if there's pressure, if I feel pressure around a task, that can be a big issue for me. But I have kept up with this, and it's been such a joy already looking back on some of the memories that I've documented earlier in the year. I'm documenting really more of the mundane day-to-day things that I feel like get lost in the hustle and bustle of everyday life. So the quirky thing that my kid says, or the flower that one of them picks for me, or a surprise bouquet that my husband brings home for me, things like that. And I don't know, it's when I look back on the past, that's the kind of stuff that I always wish that I could remember. It's really been awesome. And I feel like it's not difficult to keep up with because, you know, not only is the space to fill out so small, but you can always look back on your photos, or sometimes I ask my husband or kids, or look at my calendar to find out what we did on a specific day. And if all else fails, you can always just jot down a news headline and you're good to go. So it's very doable, and I'm enjoying it very, very much. And I feel like I will be consistent with this until the end. The only reason I have this 5-year Techo is because this is the one that I received first that had the poor paper quality. So luckily, since I do a paper test right away, I was able to figure that out and send photos to Hobonichi, and they sent me a replacement. But really the first one was unusable. And it really makes me feel for all of the people that received bad paper quality in their, not just 5-year Techos, but the other planners that had sans and paper with issues. You know, if the paper is looking like this when you're writing on it with fines and extra fines, what are you supposed to do? I mean, I guess even gel pens sometimes would bleed through. So I agree with everybody else that Hobonichi's response to that issue was lackluster at best, and I'm just happy that I was able to get a 5-year Techo replacement, because 5 years is a long time to be in a book, and I would not have been able to use this one. All right, we've got 2 books left. This one, there's not much to say. This is my Only Is Not Lonely A6 cover from Hobonichi. It's one of their minimal covers where there's just a little loop for a clip, a pen clip, so not even a whole pen. And there aren't any pockets or anything like that. No bookmarks, no, I don't know why I keep trying to use this pen that has like the biggest clip ever. No pockets, no bookmarks. Whoops. So anyway, it holds a pen clip, and it just has a simple band to keep it closed. And I love those covers by Hobonichi. I'm not a huge fan of the butterfly closure. But anyway, I just refer to this as my burn book. This is where I work through messier thoughts that I have when I'm upset, when I need to vent, things that I don't ever plan on reading back through, and I don't want to document in my B6 Sterling Ink Common Planner that I do plan to look back on. So once I'm done with this book, this is an Avec from July through December, I would just destroy it, burn it, you know, whatever the case may be, and I can start anew with a different book. Previously, I had a plain Hobonichi Graph A6 notebook in here, and it works out great. I just need a space for that to process things, so this has been that place. And then last but not least, this is my Traveler's Red Love and Trip Passport Notebook. And I know that I said that I have a hard time writing in Traveler's notebooks and A6, but obviously there are some exceptions. And this I'm trying to use as my wallet. So I have the Traveler's waxed canvas or cotton pocket where I have my cards and my cash. I have one notebook insert where I write down maybe quotes or things that pique my interest and I want to look into more. Here I have the Hobonichi lineup information. I have a cardboard folder with a pencil board and blotting paper where I could also put some sticker sheets or maybe some receipts. And then this is just the back of the Traveler's Company wallet insert. It's a zipper pocket for change, or if you don't do change, you could just have other ephemera in here. And then of course some clips, and I have the Traveler's Company brass fountain pen in a fine point. I'm trying this out. I'm not sure if it's something that is going to stick. First of all, it feels a little bit big. I was thinking I could take off the pen, although I do enjoy having a pen with me, but that makes it much more compact. Also, this pen clip is really not the best pen clip I've ever used in my entire life. It's so, I don't know, it just slips around, and then your pen just wants to not come out, and no matter how I clip it or where I clip it, that's an issue. I had it previously, I was trying to put it here so it could be more in the middle of the book, because when you put it on the back, it kind of juts out in a weird way, but that was not thick enough. So I've got to figure out a better, I don't know, a better idea. But that's actually why I had this out. This is something I recently picked up from Mari Haraya. She has an Etsy shop now called Tiny Planner Studio. She also has a YouTube channel that is so enjoyable. She's just so creative and calming. But anyway, she came up with this idea for a tiny pen tote. I have 3 Sailor Pro Gear Slim Minis in this one, and you just put it right under the traveler's elastic, and it keeps your pens with your traveler's notebook, and it looks so cute. I also got this little charm from her. She makes it in a standard size as well. Look at this charm. It's like a biscuit and chocolate bar. I love it. It's so cute. And this is what it looks like on the standard travelers. So, such a cool idea. Inside this one, I have 2 pilots and an aurora. And one of the neat things about her design is that there are sewn in pen slots in here, but there's space in the front and the back. So you can slip in other things, like maybe you want to bring a ruler, or maybe you want to bring some highlighters, or stick in, you know, another pen, or some washi tape, or page flags. So you can do that, and yeah, I love it. It's a really, really great idea. So I've been enjoying that. Maybe put in like a clip. Anyway, going back to the Traveler's Passport, besides the size of it, I don't know if it's just too fiddly to use as a wallet, because, you know, when you need to pay for something, you're opening this, and then you're opening this, and you're getting your stuff out. And, you know, without fail, every single time, people have, it's a conversation starter, is what I would say. People have a lot of comments and questions. They are really interested in it, and it's not a bad thing or a good thing. It's just something I've noticed. So I'm still deciding whether this will be a wallet or maybe just an everyday carry. One other thing I wanted to point out is that the red Love and Trip is much softer leather than Traveler's other covers, I've noticed. So you have to be okay with it immediately getting marks and scratches and gouges, and you can't be too precious about it. And I was for a little bit, but then I decided, you know what, I'm just going to go for it. Life is too short. So I put this little brass tab on here. I have a cute bookmark charm from Baumkuchen, and yeah, just some random deco. So it's cute, and I do like having something with me that I can jot things down in as they come to me. That doesn't require me to automatically take out my phone. I'd like to know if anyone else is using or has used a Traveler's as a wallet, and how does it work for you, and what do you do to make it more, I don't know, usable, I guess. Maybe I could put this pen in, it might not be the best idea for a fountain pen, but I was thinking maybe I could put this pen in this little pocket here. That might work. Yeah, that works. Probably not the best idea to have a fountain pen just rolling around. I guess you could also clip it to a page like that. I don't know. If you have any ideas, let me know. because I do love the tiny pen tote, but if I'm throwing this in my purse, I feel like I want something that's a little bit more, you know, where the tops of the pens aren't exposed, because, I mean, that's why I have the brass one. It's kind of meant to get thrown around. And then I guess just because I took this Traveler's Standard out, I'll show you that I've been doing some junk journaling, I guess, when I get stationery deliveries. So I'll swatch inks that I receive, or this was from an ink swap partner from Reddit. And I've been kind of listing my purchases and trying to keep track of how much I'm spending. Maybe I made a little pocket here, which I was proud of. Of course, all the stickers and washi that come with stationery deliveries that are too beautiful to throw away. So yeah, it's been fun. And here's a little pocket I made out of a wax bag where I stuck some things inside. So I've been having fun with that. I actually started one in an A6 Hobonichi, but I don't know, I've got to combine them. I think I was just trying to figure out which size would work for me. And since I don't know, I bought this traveler's notebook years and years ago, and I never really used it for anything because I don't like writing on narrow paper. So I thought that maybe doing some junk journaling would be a good way to go about incorporating it into my rotation. So those are my books and planners in 2025. I've been enjoying it so much and having a lot of fun, and I really feel like I've found a system that works for me. So in 2026, I'm pretty confident it's going to be my A5 plotter. It's going to be my B6 Sterling Ink Common Planner. It's going to be my A6 burn book. It's going to be my 5-year Techo 100%. I will continue on in my experimentation of the Traveler's Passport wallet. I really would like to turn this Bible-sized plotter into a commonplace book, since you can move pages around and archive things. So I think that that's what I'm going to do with this plotter, because I really do love this cover a lot. And that's what my stack looks like, and I'm really happy with it. So with all of that being said, I did want to just quickly share a couple of my special Hobonichi covers that I have, since September 1st is fast approaching and maybe people are interested in seeing a closer look at these. But I purchased these both in A5 when I thought that I was going to be in an A5 size, and I'm sure that I will jump back into A5 at some point. I mean, obviously the A5 Day Free worked for me for a journal, so I don't think that I feel the need to sell them, but they have not been used yet. So this is the Hobonichi A5 Taut cover. It's so beautiful. As soon as I saw this on the website, I knew that I wanted it. It is very expensive. I was going back and forth between getting the A5 and the A6, and I ended up purchasing it from the Hobonichi website in Japan and having it shipped to my Japanese forwarding address with Black Ship, and so it was so much more affordable that way. But it's one of their minimal covers. There's just some pockets and a pen clip. They do include this little leather bookmark, and it just says Hobonichi at the bottom. It's so gorgeous. I think that they work with a special tannery or leather maker in Italy to create this cover. Of course, it smells amazing. I just love the covers that are, I don't know, like very compact and contained, and they have a really slim profile. It's very satisfying to me for some reason. So if you had a Stalogy, you know, it would be kind of like a perfect fit. Not a lot of overhang, and just covers the cover itself, and that's it. So that's the Taut. I think every year they come out with a different color. So this was kind of a mahogany brown for 2025, and I believe in 2024 they had like a very deep red, which was really, really beautiful. And then this is sort of the star of my Hobonichi cover collection. This is a Mina Perhonen cover that was released, I believe, in February when they had a restock. And I haven't used this yet either because I feel like I don't want to break it in and then decide that it's not something I'm really going to use, but it's so gorgeous. So this is the Mina Perhonen A5, I think it's called Spring Pieces, and it's made from pieces of her previous covers. The texture is just out of this world. It's so pillowy. And then inside there's this vibrant yellow leather, and of course the amazing bookmarks and little butterfly embroidered there. So this does have the butterfly closure, and yeah, it's just really special. So I was excited to see that they are releasing some more of these types of covers by Mina Perhonen. I don't know, her stuff has quickly become, I think, my favorite. Oh, I failed to mention that my A5 Techo is in a Mina Perhonen cover. This is called Anone Anone, and it has kind of cat heads, and I appreciate that the inside is leather, so you can see it's getting a patina, and you don't have to worry about it peeling over time, which can happen with the man-made materials that are in a lot of the Hobonichi covers. So I love her stuff. I love her designs and her creativity. They just really speak to me. So that is the Mina Perhonen Pieces cover. And that's all that I had for today. Thank you so much for joining me. I have a really exciting pen that's coming hopefully later this week. You know, for me to add a fountain pen right now to my gigantic collection, it has to be pretty special, and I feel like this one is really special. You'll know when you see it. I'm excited to unbox that and share that here. Yeah, I hope you will join me for that, and I'll talk to everybody later. Bye.